What's up, guys? Welcome to another virtual edition of the Loft Sunday School with Sequoia Hills Presbyterian. I've already done a lesson this semester, but if you're joining us for the first time, or first time in a long time, I'm Bennett, and I'm a volunteer with the high school guys. So shout out to them. And quick COVID note. Just kind of funny how things work. The high school guys will probably recognize this room because when we first started this crazy pandemic, I was in here all the time doing virtual lessons, and now I am back seeing my parents without a mask on because they're vaccinated. So that's awesome. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do this lesson. First take. Let's get into it. So today we're kind of continuing a month long lesson, I guess. This is week 4 of the theme is kind of all about doing something and about justice and standing up for justice. And specifically today, the bottom line is when it comes to justice, we want to never stop trying to do something about injustice, and we want to never stop trying to pursue justice. And we're hoping that as Christians, we have a lifelong commitment to helping those in need. And part of that is seeking justice for those who maybe need our help. So the theme, I'm going to get into it by saying there's a Christian guy whose name escapes me now, but he was I think probably a pretty popular singer for people my parents' age. And he had a song that I remember my parents used to listen to that talks all about, sometimes I'm praying for stuff that God will do stuff that I can answer. And definitely if you think about imagine you're walking down road downtown or somewhere, and you have food that you don't even really want, and a homeless guy comes up to you and he's like, "Hey, I'm hungry. I need something to eat." How much of a jerk would you look like if you were just "All right, man, well, I'll pray for you," and then you threw the food away? That'd be crazy. And but I think a lot of times there's more hidden prayers that we may be praying for stuff, we're talking about stuff, but we could actually do something about it, and we just don't. And so I'm going to get into it and read the verse in a bit, but quickly I'm going to pray real quick. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and this opportunity to speak to these kids, and please help to, as Jay says, put your words into my mouth. In your name I pray, amen. All right, guys, so everybody likes emojis, right? And I think we all have a favorite one. So if you guys want to think about, I guess normally this would be a discussion where I'd be like, what's your favorite emoji? But we can't do that right now, but you could comment your favorite emoji. But my favorite personally is the smiling devil guy, the mischievous one. If I do something mischievous, and I'm not a big emoji guy. But emojis are I guess a cool way of communicating, and that they can really kind of sum up sometimes how we feel. And I think a lot of times when we talk about justice, our emoji for it would be the shrug guy. And I don't mean that to say when we think about injustice we're I don't care, because I think we do. But it's more the shrug as in I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help. But the good news is that, and we're going to look at a Bible verse that kind of explains this, we actually have an opportunity to do something about, seeking justice and seeking good in this world. And what to do is actually really easy when we think about it. And so quickly also, I just want to know what I mean by injustice. This lesson gave a definition, but I think this is good. When I'm talking about injustice, I'm just talking about injustices anywhere in the world where things are set up unfair or unequal or not right. And so the best possible example is I don't know, if you think about like there's a ton of examples obviously, but here's just a quick example that comes to mind. I remember when I was a kid, there was like a really bad tsunami in India, and there's definitely been like tsunamis since, but basically there were a lot of people that were like homeless after that, and a lot of people got killed, and people were like struggling to build these like homes that they lived in. They were already in poverty. It was just this really sad situation, and I remember like telling my mom, that was like probably the first time I noticed injustice, because I was like, Mom, somebody should do something about that. And so again, I think like we think about injustice a lot, and our common reaction is like, I don't know what to do, but somebody should do about that, something about that. And sorry, I'm starting to burp more now that I'm getting in the 20s. I think that's maybe you can check with like your dad or something, but I think that's a symptom of I'm just becoming like old and gross. Anyway, there's I think a lot of times we actually could do something, but we're just stuck in this cycle of like, well, somebody else should do something about that. And so we're going to read from James, and I think I've like introduced him before to at least the high school guys, but James is actually Jesus's brother, which I will let somebody with a degree like Laura correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think he was like Mary and Joseph's like biological son. And he wrote a book in the New Testament that is, a lot about like applications of our Christian faith. And so I'm going to go ahead and read it. This is James chapter 2, verses 15 through 17, or 15 and 16 first, and 17, sorry. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. So, like I said, my little example of you like seeing a homeless person having food, but like they're like, I'm hungry, and you're like, well, I'll pray for you, but you don't give them any food. That's like a real world example of I think what James is saying. Like, and a lot of times we settle with, oh, like somebody needs to fix this, but we don't actually do anything ourselves. And that's actually not necessarily Christ-like, because, Jesus, I know we've talked about him a lot. He offered his words to those in need, but he also offered his actions. That's what James means, 2:17. Faith by itself is not accompanied by action, it's dead. Guys, I mean, if we're supposed to live like Christ, like it's pretty easy to see if you just pick a gospel. Like Jesus spent his whole life helping those in need. And quick real world example of this, I know a lot of you guys have been in Bible studies with her, but Dorothy Mosley to me is like an awesome example of somebody who actually does stuff. Dorothy keeps like snacks in her car for like when she gets like a homeless person, like they come up to her like while she's in her car or something. She like literally always has them so she can like give them food, and she's just very charitable. And so shout out to Dorothy. But yeah, I think that's like a great example. And that also kind of shows, you think about like, we're like, man, somebody should do something about homelessness in Knoxville, or like feeding the homeless. Like, do you think about like how easy that actually is? Like if you guys literally just kept like a granola bar on you at all times, like you'd probably be able to help somebody in need like every time you went to downtown Knoxville. And so I really encourage you guys to do that, because I think, like I said, that's how Jesus lived. And if Christians, if we're really, condemned by our sin, and we really want to live like Christ, then we need to do it. And I need to do it too. I'm not just saying like it's like a you guys thing, because like I'm really bad about this stuff too. But some other little notes. I will say, and some of you may be used to this, because some of you guys may be fighting for injustices that you see or issues that you see. Instant results aren't always a thing, and you may never really cure the problem you're seeking to cure. And so I'll just give two examples of that. Obviously, we've been reminded in the past year or so, and we'll continue to be reminded that like racism is a horrible thing. all over the world, and especially in America because of our history. And unfortunately, like, I'm not saying we shouldn't try. Like, we should definitely try to, fight racism and all become a, unified people, and people who fight injustice. And racism is a huge part of injustice. But like, we've been talking about, fighting racism for decades, and it's never totally going to end. Like, there's always going to be awful people who just think they're like better than somebody else because of the way they look. Another great example, like I've already brought it up, but homelessness. Like, I heard a stat on a podcast, and this is a podcast like 2 years old, but this guy was talking on a REF podcast I was listening to, and he said that like the church housed like more homeless people, like the church at large, like all the different like churches in the world housed more homeless people than like the United Nations and like all the governments of the world combined, like which I don't know how that was calculated, but it was a really cool stat. But you think about like, okay, like you think about how much like stuff like United Nations does to help impoverished and homeless people. You think about how much the church does. Like, we still have homeless people like all the time, and it's really sad to say, but like homelessness, racism, these things are probably never really going to end. But here's the inspiring thing. I think little by little, like, we will see change. And I'll give one more anecdote from my life. When I was in fifth grade, a guy named Barack Obama was elected president, and it was a really cool moment for our country because he was the first black president. And I know you guys know that. I know that's not like forever ago. But I remember like talking to my mom, and you think about, like I said, like racism is still like clearly a problem in America. But like my mom was like, yeah, there was a time where I never thought a black guy would become president. And now you think about, we had the first like black vice president, who's also female. It's like crazy. Even 30 years ago, maybe that was like never seen as a possibility. So stuff can change. And, I don't know actually a lot of stats on homelessness. I probably should know more. But, if you start helping people and get involved in an organization like CARM, like, you're going to see results little by little. And it's going to be really inspiring, I think. And so, quick application to end it. What are ways we can seek justice? Well, I think, if you define an issue you care about, if you want to help people who are homeless, if you want to, fight racism, you can write to our leaders, even at a local level. Leadership can obviously do a lot of things to, try and like, I don't know if the city can like give more funds to CARM and stuff like that. And another thing you can do is donate money. Our church, Sequoia, has a lot of awesome initiatives in and around Knoxville and urban parts of Knoxville to really bring up people who have been impoverished or found hardship. So that's another way you can use your money. You can also use your talents. If you're like a really good like baker, you could like bake a batch of cookies and take them to like CARM or somewhere and be like, hey, can you guys give this out? I don't know. That's kind of like a random example, but there's a lot of ways that we can help people. And just to close, like I said, you guys have the power. We talk about injustice. We see it all the time. We have the power to, fight it. And maybe we won't see these issues will never seem totally cured, but we can see them change for the better. And we definitely have Jesus behind us. So that's my message for you guys. As far as the UT loss, any quick thoughts on that? Rick Barnes has 25 NCAA appearances. Tennessee has 23. So any Rick haters, you can get out of here. But disappointing. I know it's frustrating. So anyway, that's my final thoughts. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll shut up now. And you guys have a wonderful Sunday. Thanks.